To 11 Alive News at 4. I'm Jonathan Martin.
And I'm Faith Jesse. Today is Election Day for the Georgia general primary. Voting for your local representatives to make a change in your community, it's very important.
It certainly is, and we have team coverage for you tonight. 11 Alive's Molly Oak is live in Cobb County, where changes are coming for congressional maps. But first, let's start things off here at 4 with 11 Alive's Karis Belger in Fulton County. Karis is at the Louise Watley Library. And Karis, I know you've been talking to voters. What are you hearing today?
Well, the voters I've been speaking with are coming to the polls for a variety of issues. They're focusing on things like housing, education, to name a few. That's what's driving them out today. And they also tell me that showing up for today's primary is just as important as showing up in the fall.
First of all, historically, it's important.
The voting rights, hoping they be in place.
By mid-morning, a steady stream of voters made their way to the C.T. Martin Natatorium, prompted by their care for their beloved community.
And one thing that I really wanted to vote for was for gun safety.
The recent shooting at 1145 Lounge in Buckhead hit close to home for Sanaa Dennis, which is why she wanted to vote yes on the first question on the Democratic ballot.
So now they're doing a lot to try to get it shut down because it's been a location for a lot of shootings for years. And so that's like the main reason that I came out today.
Public safety was also top of mind for Felicia McCulley, which is why she wanted to give her vote to candidates she felt would look out for her and her family.
We got a lot of crime over here, but we got a lot of good stuff over here too. So we just getting the right politicians to work together with the people.
Today's ballot questions tackled everything from immigration to health care. For many, it wasn't a particular issue that motivated them, but rather an expectation that they should participate.
I'm an example to my children. So I'm just showing them how to navigate through this world, really.
A first step, they say, to improving their community for the better.
All right, so Karis, a lot of issues, a lot of opinions there. What are people saying? I know you've spoken to a lot of voters in terms of what's most important to them.
Well, voter access and also election transparency were some things that were really top of mind for people. So one question on the Democratic ballot is about extending the hours of availability for absentee ballot drop boxes. And on the Republican ballot, there's a question about allowing the counting of paper ballots to happen over a video live stream. So that just goes to show how important transparency and access in terms of elections are for people in both parties when it comes to this primary election.
Karis Belger for us. Thank you so much. Important to know that those questions are non-binding, but it does give the parties a chance to gauge to see what the voters want. Our team coverage continuing with 11 Alive's Molly Oak. She's joining us live in Cobb County tonight. So, Molly, how are things looking out there in Marietta?
You know, I was thinking voters would be excited to see a lack of lines because that's what we were seeing at a couple of the spots we visited. But the voters that we spoke to actually were expecting to see a lot more people packing the polls today. We spoke with a political analyst who says there may be a couple of reasons why you may not see as high of turnout as you expected today. If you ask voters if people were pouring into the polls today,
not at all.
If you ask them to describe turnout today,
Light.
Short and sweet answers, just like the lines or lack thereof, voters say they experienced today.
Don't expect people to show up for primary elections at the same
But Andra
rate
Gillespie,
they show
11
up
Alive
for
political
general
analyst and
elections.
Emory
People
political science
have
professor,
been so
says
reticent.
that's not surprising, especially if they're comparing it to what they see on Election Day in November.
It's not even a comparison. The types of people who show up in primaries are usually your most knowledgeable and your most politically interested voters. So that's going to be a much smaller, much more ideologically extreme subset of the population than will turn out to vote on Election Day.
Plus, she says Georgia has early voting, which could mean some people didn't have to show up in person.
And part of that is to help ease congestion on Election Day. So to that respect, this might be working.
She also added some people may be confused, thinking they already voted in the primary since the state had a presidential primary recently.
I mean, I think there are larger questions about whether or not Georgia should have its presidential and its congressional primaries on different dates. The fact that these are on separate dates might actually be confusing to some voters who would otherwise vote, because there are people who are like, well, I already voted in a primary. I did that in March.
Regardless of who voters picked in the polls, there was one thing they could agree on.
If you don't vote, don't complain.
Then don't say anything about the results, okay? Because you forfeited your right to choose by not voting.
Okay, so Cobb County, where you are right now, Molly, they are dealing with some changes and even some confusion with these new congressional districts. Doug Richards did a story about it earlier this week. Do voters know about these changes, and what are they saying about this?
Yeah, I know it's something we've been closely following here at 11 Alive. Some of the voters have said that it is confusing, though. One woman told me that she went in thinking she'd talk with one or vote for one candidate, only to find out that candidate was no longer on her ballot. So we're actually looking at the impacts of the congressional district changes on voters and candidates coming up at 6. Guys.
We look forward to that important information. Molly Oak live for us. Remember, polls close at 7 tonight. You still have a few more hours to get out there and exercise your right to vote. We have everything you need to know about today's election on 11alive.com, and we are here to help you out. We can actually send it all straight to your phone. Just text the word election to 404-885-7600.